What's up, everybody? It's Dan Greer with Leading from the Middle of the Pack, and today we're going to be talking all about authenticity as a leader. I know I almost messed that word up, but anyways, so today we're going to be chatting all about why as a leader you need to be authentic and why you need to be really good at showing yourself and being transparent. Okay, so cue up theme song. We'll be right back. The big question is this: how are leaders like us, who aren't necessarily in a management position, who go out and get our hands dirty, who are ready to answer their calling from God to lead, who are driven to learn and grow, gain the trust and respect of those around us, to actually be heard while not coming across as an authoritative prick? These are the questions, and this is the podcast that will give you the answers. Hi, my name is Dan Greer, and welcome to Leading from the Middle of the Pack. Awesome! So glad you guys are still here. So first off, I want to point out, have you been noticing the pictures behind me right there? I'm trying to see it in my screen right here. Oh, you seen those? So those are super cool. Those are rigs and rods pictures. We have those drawn, oh my gosh, for all of our customers. And not only that, we're actually getting some drawn for us as well, which is super cool. We've had some really fun ones drawn for us. And we just went to a truck show and we gave away a free custom picture of their stuff of a truck that was there, of the winner People's Choice Award, which was super cool, and we're super stoked for that. We partnered with a guy out of Canada. His company is called Rigs and Rods. He's super awesome. I'm just giving a shout out to Jay because Jay's been super fun to work with. Had a lot of fun working with him. The other thing I want to do is I just want to point out that there's a lot of stuff going on in the background of me all the time. If you're watching these videos, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably like, oh great, Dan just spent 3 minutes talking about stuff that I can't see. Well, go watch the video. What are you waiting on? Anyways, I get it. I'm not a huge video watcher either, but I record these. So if you're a video watcher, you can see them. If you're a podcast listener, you can hear it. So let's jump straight into the topic of today, and that's being authentic. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now, is I'm being 100% authentic with you as to what's going on. Every time that I come on here, every time you guys listen to a podcast, you're getting the real, raw Dan. And I want you to realize that a lot of people come in and they try to make everything super polished, and they try to be super prepped, and they're like, oh, this has to be perfect. And then they get paralyzation by analyzation, which means that they analyze it so much that they freeze and they don't ever commit. They don't ever take action. They don't ever do stuff. And as a leader, we can't get that. It can't be perfect. We have to realize that it can't be perfect. I've got a couple people on my team that it's everything has to be perfect. Nothing can have any problems whatsoever. And it's okay, so not a problem, right? I get that you want it perfect, but done is better than perfect. Get it done, get it out the door. We can fix mistakes. We can fix uh-ohs. We can make calls. We can fix problems, right? We can backpedal. It's not the end of the world. We can make all that stuff happen. But we have to acknowledge at first, we have to be authentic. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is, as a leader, being authentic, being yourself, being who you truly are, not trying to put on a show and not trying to be perfect. So if you're perfect, right, we've talked about this. If you're perfect, nobody can actually follow you because you're perfect. You hold yourself to such a standard that nobody else can get there. And people actually see that, right? And they go, oh, well, I'll never be as perfect as Dan is. Trust me, Dan makes mistakes every single friggin' day. You're definitely more perfect than Dan is. I can promise you that. But as a leader, if you hold yourself to that level of perfectionism, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be good. It's actually going to be worse because you're not going to publish as much. You're not going to get as much out there. You're not going to be as quick to be a good leader. And so I just want to point that out, that perfection is not the key to success. Doing more and not being afraid to fail, that's the key to success. Okay. So the next thing is when you're transparent, when you're a glass door as a leader, I'm not saying that you have to be a glass door with everything. Not everybody in my company knows all the financials, right? Not everyone in my company knows everything for everything. And that's okay, right? But I do agree that when you get somebody that you're trying to move into a leadership position, right, you need to be transparent with them with everything. But there's certain parts of your life as a leader you have to be transparent about. And that is fears, okay? Fears are huge, because without fears, if people don't think that you're scared, then they can't relate to you, right? You're not being truly authentic to who you are. If people don't think that, if they're like, oh, you're so perfect, you have everything right, you've done everything right in your life. No, I mess up constantly, right? had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they're like, yeah, well, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here because, first off, number one, I hate the word devil's advocate, and I would cuss at the beginning of that, but I try my hardest not to cuss. I hate with a passion. Yes, I don't use the word hate. I hate the words devil's advocate because that is such a load of bull. Okay, whole different story, but that's me being authentic, right? Devil's advocate is crap. It's an excuse for you to tell yourself that, oh, I'm going to be negative. No, bull crap. All right, I'm calling bull crap. Anybody who uses the words devil advocate, I don't need to have close to me. Just because I don't need devil's advocate. My mind's already given me all the bad stuff that's going to come up in life. And my mind's already given me all the bad stuff to it. I don't need devil's advocate. You know what that is? That's an excuse for you to be a lazy SO. Yeah. That's an excuse for you to have fear. That's an excuse for you not to be authentic. Well, Dan, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. Nope. I just tuned out. I didn't hear anything else you just said. Now, that's me being authentic with you. Right? I'm going to be real honest that people who are negative, I don't have a place for them in my life. That's me being authentic. Okay? Now, being authentic as a leader is being able for people to see the true you, right? Not the polished you, not the prepped you, not the person who always has their hair done right or their makeup on or doesn't ever wear shorts or sweats or t-shirts or whatever. They're always dolled up and ready to go. That's the primed and prepped you. That's not the authentic you. The authentic you looks like this. I got a quarter zip on. Living in a, not living, but, well, pretty much living. Living in my office, right? That's not perfect. Closing the windows right here so you don't get a huge glare on the TV. Not fixing the light yet, and it's been 6-8 months, but I don't want to spend the money on track lights to put up there, even though I know I should. That's authentic, right? Telling you guys that I'm scared to start podcasts, talking to people about the problems that we go through as a company and some of the stuff that's being authentic. That's giving you something you can relate to. Now, how would you feel as a person if I came onto a podcast, if I came onto a vlog, if I came onto a video, and everything was always perfect, right? You wouldn't be able to relate to me because it wouldn't be authentic. It's not me. I had somebody the other day, they sent me a message. They said, people would take you more seriously if you spell checked all your Facebook posts before you put them out there. Yeah, right. I don't reread everything 100 times to make sure it's right. My spelling is atrocious. I downloaded a new keyboard and it's kind of pissing me off on my phone, so I might go back to the old one. And my spelling's been better with a new keyboard because it's like Grammarly or something like that. But my point is I'm not perfect. I'm authentic. I don't need to be primed and polished. And if you don't like me because I can't spell right or because I struggle with some of that stuff, then you know what? I got news for you. You're not going to get along with me in the long run, so why does it even matter? Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the authenticity there? Right? So now then, let's back up to this devil's advocate crap that I was talking about being negative and the authenticity that comes with that. You're not being authentic whenever you allow yourself to be negative and not take chances. Right? And that's not authentically you. It's the comfortable you. And there's a difference between comfortable and authentic. The comfortable me looks like this. Jeans, t-shirt, quarter zip, like tennis shoes. That's the authentic me. That's what you're going to see Dan in all the time. And I've gotten past that I have to dress up to impress people, right? Whenever I go get on a stage somewhere, I'm wearing this. 99% of the time I'm wearing something similar to this. I might have a different shirt on. I might have a shirt on top of it instead of a quarter zip, right? I might have a button-up shirt and a vest. Might even have cowboy boots on instead of tennis shoes, but that's still authentically me, right? Not authentically me as a 6-piece suit, right? So you can dress authentically, okay? You can talk authentically. So how do you talk like you? Well, if I'm from the South and I got me a deep old Southern drawl and I come out and I try to talk all prom and proper, right? Yeah, that was a horrible Southern draw. I know. Y'all can laugh at me later. It's okay. Hell, you can laugh at me now. I don't care. But my point is like, if I try to be Southern, it's not going to work for me. Whereas you get somebody from Georgia who's got that super cute Southern accent, or whatever you want to call it, thick Southern drawl, they're authentically them when they talk that way, right? That's them. They're not trying to change who they are to please me. They don't get all prim and proper when they talk to me and try to talk like this. No, they talk in their nice, typical drawl. That's who they are. That's what they've grown up around. Now, you can change that authenticity. You can change that in time, but it doesn't change depending on who you're talking to, right? It changes over time slowly. That's being authentically you with the way that you talk. Also, authentically you is like not changing how you talk depending on who you're around. If I go get around a bunch of guys and I start cussing this and that and all this stuff, and it's all bad words, every other word's a bad word, is that authentically me? No, because you know what? I don't cuss that much, right? But if I let one slip once in a while, that is authentically me, because that's who I am. That's who I've become. Now, I can tell you, I used to be the guy who every other word was a cuss word, but I've deterred from that. I've changed my ways. And that one did kind of happen overnight as a leader, but that happened through prayer and petition, right? Got close to God, and he told me to quit cussing, and so I stopped cussing. That's the way it works. I try not to cuss that much. I still do it once in a while. It's life, right? You probably heard one slip during this podcast, in all honesty. My point is that like there's a lot of things that are authentically us, and a lot of things that aren't authentically us. And so, as a leader, how do you lead authentically? Well, number one is not changing who you are because you're a leader. Does that make sense? Right? So, like, if I'm a leader, if I'm leading other people, and I constantly look at the future, and I'm constantly planning, and I'm constantly thinking about that, and I go to a person who never looks at the future but only looks at my next step, dink, right? Is that authentically leading as to who I am? No, right? Now, let's say that I'm a person and I'm leading and I'm negative constantly. Is that authentically you? Do you really want to be authentically negative? Do you really want to be the devil's advocate constantly? Do you want to be that person? And the answer to that is no, you don't. You don't. And if you're saying, no, Dan, I do want to be that person, then you don't know what it's like to be positive. You don't know what it's like to actually have a life that you like don't want to escape from. Right? If you're trying to escape from your life by going into depression, it's a joke. It's a joke. That's a whole different story. Depression's a whole different thing. Depression is real. I'm not saying I've been depressed before. I get it. I understand depression is something that you have to work through. It's not something that you just choose to be in, but you do kind of choose to be depressed. It's a choice whether you're depressed or not depressed, but that's something different. That's for a whole other podcast on choices, which who knows, maybe we might do next, but we're not doing it right now. So being authentically you is really helpful as a leader, right? So we talked about that. Being authentically you, how you dress, how you talk. What about like your actions? What about if you're authentically, genuinely excited all the time? Like I'm very easily excited. People can feel enthusiasm whenever I talk to them. But what if I'm only enthusiastic whenever I talk to somebody who's new? Is that authentically me? No. Right? But what if I get enthusiastic every time I talk about business? What if I get enthusiastic every time I talk about like live events or getting dot docs out of the world or serving more people or helping them? That's me. That's what gets me excited. That's being authentic to myself, right? Being proud of what we've designed, what we've built, what it's growing into, what it's going to grow into. That's authentic. Okay? I'm authentic to me as being passionate about equipment and trucks and people and growth and change. Good change, not bad change. I'm not talking about like higher taxes, that kind of bull crap. That's for a whole different topic as well. I'm talking about like substantial, real change, okay? That's what I'm talking about. Changing yourself, changing others' lives, doing things that make a bigger difference than just showing up to the world. That's being authentic to me. Being authentic to you looks completely different than it does to me. And that's the point of authenticity. That's the point of it, is that you're authentic. You're being authentic to you is different than being authentic to me. It's different than my wife. My wife and I are authentic in two different ways. She is very loving and nurturing and loves our kids beyond a doubt. I love our kids beyond anything else as well. but I'm a little bit more hard-nosed when it comes to some stuff. Like, I'm not saying she's a pushover, because I love my wife to death and she's absolutely awesome, right? And she's very, like, takes care of stuff and she's authentic to herself. But she wouldn't be authentic to herself if all she did was talk about business like I do, because she's not. That's not who she is, right? She's authentic when she talks about being a mom, about taking hikes, about working outside, about beautifying what's around us, about simplifying it. That's her. That's authentically her. It hasn't always been her, but it's who she's became, right? So do you understand? Do you understand you got to be authentic to yourself? And as a leader, it comes down to like the way you dress, the way you talk, your thoughts, your morals. You can't change who you are depending on who you're around. That's not being authentic. That's not leading authentically, right? Let's say that I go get around, I don't know, Elon Musk, and I'm like, oh yeah, right? I don't even know what the heck I'd say to Elon Musk, like how I could even compare to him, because the dude's created PayPal and SpaceX and helped keep Tesla going and pushed it to new levels, and Starlink and all this other stuff that he's done that's just absolutely amazing with the people he's surrounded himself with. He hasn't done it all himself, right? He's led the movement and got super smart people around him to make it happen, which is the key, right? He's authentically smart. That's him. And he authentically surrounds himself with the best players in the world. That's him. Okay? And he's super, super sharp. And he's very himself all the time. Like, you don't catch him when he's not himself. If you read the book Elon Musk and you start studying him a little bit, you'll find out that Elon Musk is Elon Musk all the time, no matter what. He doesn't change and become Elon Musk on steroids when he steps in front of a camera. He might not get as angry, right? But he's still going to call you out. He's still going to say you're an idiot if you're an idiot. Like, that's who he is. That's what he does. And if you've got people who are super nice all the time and never call anybody out, then when they're authentically themselves, they're super nice. They never call anybody out. They don't change because they get around somebody else. They don't change because they're trying to level up and show that person next to them how big and strong and smart they are. That's not leading authentically. Leading authentically is leading your way, right? And you can change your way, but you don't change it for a short time and then go back, right? Does that make sense? You can authentically change. I'm not telling you to stay stuck in the same route of being authentic. I'm telling you can change your authenticity. You can change what is authentic to you. But you can't do it based on the people you're around. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, hopefully that all made sense, right? The last thing, and I'm going to end on this, okay? So what I want to end on is, like, when you lead authentically, it's good to be unique. It's good to be different. It's good to do things your way. You don't have to lead the same way I do. I lead different than anybody else in the world. We were doing interviews the other day, and one of the guys on my team, he goes, yeah, I think people are a little nervous when they interview with you because you're kind of intimidating, because you bombard them with a million questions and you ask really crazy oddball stuff. And he says, I can imagine that interviewing with you and interviewing with Elon Musk are very similar to the same, is what he told me. And I was like, I don't know if that's a compliment or what that is. He's like, no, it's a compliment, because you guys both have really, I'm sure, obscure questions that come out that tell you something that nobody else is looking for in an interview. But that's authentically you. That's who you are. He said, and the more people know you, the more they warm up to you, the easier they are to give you answers. And so by the end of the interview, people are usually opening up a lot more than they were in the first 5 minutes. And he said, that's why you do 15 to 45-minute interviews. I was like, yeah, 100%. That's why we do it all. So anyways, my point with all that is like, he said that sometimes my authenticity, so I can't even say it, can be domineering, right? It can be overwhelming. It can cause people a little bit of stress. Okay. And so that's the truth with that. And that's okay. But I can adjust that over time, but I'm not willing to adjust that right now for what it is, because I'm being authentic to myself whenever I step into those interviews and stuff like that. And so, the thing that I want to say here, and this is what I want to leave you guys on, is because we're going to wrap this up, is like, be authentic to who you are and who you want to be, not to who you're around. Don't change who you are as a leader depending on who you're around. If I go get around a bunch of other leaders that are super high level, don't change to be like those leaders unless I want to aspire to be like them, and then I need to change to be like them all the time, not just when I'm around them. Does that make sense? Don't change to fit the people who are around you. Set yourself an end destination and start working your way toward that end destination as to who you want to be authentically. And always be authentic and always be open and always be a glass door as to what's going on. Show people a little bit of your struggles. As a leader, it's real. The struggle is real every day, right? No matter what. So I want to encourage you to do that. I want to encourage you to make that happen. And I hope that y'all have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did like it, subscribe, share it, post us, tag me at Real Dan Greer on like any platform now. I know, I claimed it. Real Dan Greer. That's me. Tag me in it, and I'll give you some love back. All right? If you didn't like it, what the heck are you still doing here? Don't waste your time. All right, hope you guys enjoyed it.